Alright YouTubes, in today's video we're going to be spraying an Audi S6 that came in for a show car finish. So this vehicle came in, normally we would try and do a production finish, try and match the production finish that most vehicles will have, but this car's come in with a flat and polished glass finish on it, so we're going to achieve the same finish as what this vehicle's got, so it all matches. So if you haven't seen the previous video to this, all the preparation and a good look around the vehicle, go and check that video out. So yeah, we're at the spraying stage now. So in the previous video we got it all prepared in primer and ready to spray. So it's in the booth now, it's all ready to spray. The colour's Misano red, and first obviously we're going to be putting all the colour on there. So I'm going to show quite a bit in this video, and apologies for my video being extensively long. I can't do short videos, so I don't blame you if you don't watch it all or you skip past stuff, because I just can't do it. I just can't make small videos. There's so many bits that I record, I just want to show, you know, a lot of it. I just don't want to show a few seconds of this, a few seconds of that, but it is what it is. I'm not going to change it. Anyway, we're all ready to spray. The colour's mixed up, it's all degreased. Just writing out a quick little spray out card. The colour of this vehicle is normally quite a good match on my system. Mipa WBC is what I use. Mipa paint system. If you're not a regular to my channel, everything that I do paint wise, all my paint materials from start to finish are done with the Mipa paint system. So water-based base coat and a variety of different clear coats. So on this one I'm using what they call their show clear. They call it their show clear. It's not actually named that, but that's what they call it, and it's Mipa CC12. Couple of reasons why I'm using it. Obviously I need to try and achieve a glass flat and polished finish on this vehicle, so it's great for flat and polishing it. Flat and polish is absolutely lovely. It flows out lovely. It is a bit of a tricky clear to use. It's got a real afterflow to it, and I don't use it very often, and I have got runs with it quite easily, but it lays down lovely. It is what they say it is. It is like a show clear, so it's ideal for restoration and custom work, them types of jobs where you just want to get the best gloss. It's got a real high gloss content, the resin content's really high in it, and like I say, the gloss and the flow out of it is lovely, but it can be a tricky clear to get on. You find the ones with higher resin content will have quite a bit of afterflow and stuff like that, and where I don't use it very often, I play about with the thinners. It's 0 to 5, 2 to 1 mixing ratio with 0 to 5% thinners, and I've found over the last couple of months I've used it on the odd job, less thinners is better in it, because it does flow really nice anyway, and it even hints towards that on the data sheet, to reduce the amount of thinners, so don't put the full thinners in there. So we're going for a glass finish on this, and I don't know about other people, really, to get a true glass finish. A lot of people bang on about glass and glass out the gun, and this gun will give you glass and this lacquer will give you glass. In my 30 odd years experience, the only way to get true glass finish is it needs flat and polishing. Yeah, you can get it on horizontal panels, you know, like bonnets and roofs, something that's flat, you can flood that clear coat out, but on a vertical panel and down the side of a vehicle, I think it's quite hard to achieve a true flat glass looking finish. You know, you've got to think about what glass looks like. Glass has got no texture, ripple, anything in it at all. It's sort of like looking through glass, and to get that true glass looking finish with that depth of gloss, it's near on impossible to get that out of a gun, no matter what gun setup, what clear coat you're using, or any of them things. So I'm going to show you the true glass finish, and there's loads of levels to this glass finish look as well. You know, you can keep going and going with it, which we'll go through as we go through the video and show you the flat and polishing stages. There's a few different tiers, a few different levels of that. Alright YouTubes, Today's video has been sponsored by Carly. Carly's a diagnostic scanner that can be used on your mobile. So in this video, we've had all the bumper off on this Audi S6, and it's flagged up loads of fault codes from being disconnected. They do reset themselves sometimes, but we like to clear all the faults. So a really handy device for clearing all the faults that we've created from stripping off sensors and cameras and stuff like that. So we just run through some of the features and the capabilities of what this Carly scanner can do. Once you've got the scanner, download the app and run through the registration of the app. Get it all set up on your phone, and then get the scanner out of the box and plug it into your diagnostics port. Wait for it to light up. Then go to your Bluetooth settings. Hang on, keep it rolling. Then go to your Bluetooth settings, look for the scanner and connect it. Once it's connected, then search for your vehicle by manufacturer, model, engine and year. So with Carly you can run your normal diagnostics, so like on this vehicle, run a diagnostics check across the whole system. It looks at all the ECUs and finds any faults that are stored in those ECUs. Once you've got that information, you can use that information with a feature that's on this Carly app called Smart Mechanic, where it will give you reasons why this fault code has occurred and will give you repairs and information, lots of information on how to rectify this fault. Also, there's other great features with the Carly scanner, not just for diagnostics and fault finding, but one of the strong points of the Carly scanner that other scanners don't do is the coding function, especially with BMWs and Audis. So I'll show you some of these great features with this lovely BMW M135. Right, so we've got this BMW M135 here, and I'll show you some of the coding options that Carly offer. They do coding over a various amount of makes and models of vehicles, but they seem to have a lot on BMW and Audi stuff. So let's have a look at some of the coding features that are available on this lovely BMW M135. So once you've got it all connected again, choose a coding option and do a scan and see which ECUs are compatible for coding. On this vehicle it says there's 10 compatible ECUs for coding. Once you select one of those ECUs for coding, it will ask you to make a backup of how the ECU is at the moment, how the options are at the moment. So if you have any issues, you can always use that backup to override anything you may have changed that you don't like and restore it back to how it was before. Loads and loads of options you can change on this vehicle, loads of customization, start, stop, all sorts of stuff that you can do. One of the things that we tried was we increased the brightness of the angel eyes. So we just turned up the brightness of the angel eyes, not to the fullest but to very high, and they were on a medium brightness. So we've just done the left one and you can see the difference already. The Carly Used Car Check is also a tool within the Carly app that provides comprehensive history report of a used car by analysing its computer systems and official data sources, allowing users to verify mileage, detect mileage fraud, check for damage history and review MOT status to prevent costly purchases. So there we have it. There's the Carly scanner and some of the features and the capabilities it's got. Great for DIYers, professionals. You can diagnose your car yourself, do coding. So there we have it. Massive thanks to Carly for sponsoring this video. And if you want to purchase yourself a Carly scanner, there's a discount code in the description, PAINT15, to get yourself 15% discount. Now let's get back to the video. So, base coat stage first. Give myself a bit of blend room. This vehicle has had virtually a complete respray. The whole car, down the sides, the bumpers, everything except for the top of the boot, the roof and the top of the tailgate has been painted, and it's all been painted and it's all been flat and polished. So with the colour, there was a couple of options shade wise on my system, but where it's had paint and it's been painted, I just used a Spectro to give me a bit of a correction on the formulas that I had on there, and it was a decent match. And I'm giving myself a bit of blender. You know, this is almost like a solid colour. This colour, it has got a little bit of pearl in it that you can see in the light, in the sunlights and stuff like that, at different angles. So I'll give myself a bit of blending anyway, just to keep it away. But the colour was pretty accurate from the Spectro. Little blowing down there to do, and again, being sort of like a solid colour, you can keep your blends a bit tighter. So this Mipa water base, it covers really well. So you know, that's the first coat really, which it is a little bit wetter than what I would normally put it on. They recommend a half coat, like a stabilising coat. So I'll get that first coat on there, get a little bit of heat in there, just leave it on the spray cycle for now. Get a little bit of heat in there, and it's quite essential to get that first coat, which they call like the stabilising coat. So if you put it on too wet, this Mipa water base, it can pick up some anomalies, you know, on the panel, some contamination. It sort of might fisheye a little bit. If it's on there a bit too wet, it needs to sort of just get on there. Like I say, it stabilises, and that gives you the first, you know, that first coat gives you a good bed then for the second application or your second coats. But the coverage on it is fantastic. This is quite a transparent colour, this Pisano red, and the couple of shades that were on my system was either recommending white filler primer or light grey. So I had a light grey for this shade, and yeah, that, you know, when it gives you grey shades and coloured primers on the system, you know, that's a good indicator that it's going to be a little bit transparent. But that's, to me, that's pretty good coverage for the first coat. And you know, once I see that with the right colour primer under there, I know my second application is going to have no issues at all with coverage, you know. So I get that first coat dry. And that blow dry I'm using is an A&I, and it's their like heated dryer. It does consume quite a lot of air from the compressor. You've got to have it over 5 bar, but the heating part of it does work. There's a high heating setting which hasn't got a lot of airflow. There's a medium heating setting which is a bit less heat and a bit more airflow for bigger areas to dry, which is the one I normally use. And then there's just full flow, which doesn't use the heat inside of it. That just grabs complete ambient air from your environment. So whatever your temperature is in your environment, that's, you know, it's just going to volumize that air. It's not going to heat it up. So I use it on the medium one, and I only use that A&I dryer for my first application, because I don't want to put too much heat into the booth, especially in the warmer months, because it takes a while, especially when using, you know, higher metallic colours and stuff like that. I need to get that heat out for my second application, so it's ideal for that situation, just getting that first sort of half coat dry, because it's not you know, it's not too much of a film build, so it doesn't take too much to dehydrate it. And then yeah, this is the second application. You can do it again as sort of 2 single coats if you want. I just find 2 3/4 coats on top of each other like a double header. Gives me all the coverage I need on most colours, even a sort of transparent colour like this. I just double over it, and you know, to me that's like, or I only go around the vehicle. I go around all the places I need to paint on a vehicle. I just go around it twice, and that's, apart from drop coating it, you know, after I've dried it, that's, you know, that's a double application to me. That's twice going around the vehicle, and 2 lots of drying, which I find the most sort of economical way to do it, really. But you do have to, with any water-based system, you need to introduce heat and airflow to get that base coat dehydrated. So It's not, you know, it's not like solvent where it would just dry naturally. It will, but that's not how I do it, because I'm conscious of time, how long the booth's running, and my energy costs and all the rest of it. So I'm in there spraying, so I'll go in there drying as well. If you notice, I do an area at a time and I double it up on that area and move on to a next area. I don't sort of plan it as I start spraying. I section after section, and I come back on myself like that, like I'm doing now, and move on to the next section. And that's it. That's all the application side, all the coverage that I need before I dry it out and drop coat it. So on to the second application of the base coat. I sort of, especially when I've got tight blends and, you know, up in the top corners of the bonnet and stuff like that, try not to really get any colour near that door. I sort of get my little bit of blending done there, and then spray into that little blending zone that I've created. So gun I'm using, sorry I forgot to say what gun I'm using, but if you're regular and you've seen other videos of mine, you pretty much can guess what gun I'm using. So this one's Satajet X, it's a HVLP, and it's got a 1.2i setup. And I know I'm a little bit biased with Sata, and I only use Satajets, but I can't put these guns down. I've had a couple of issues with them, and I'll go through them in a minute. But all my other Satas, I did use my CC gun the other day actually, and it was okay, but I want to use them on everything. I look at my other guns, I think, oh, shall I, you know, mix it up a little bit? Shall I use one of my other ones, a 5500 or something else? But yeah, I absolutely love them, the way they spray. Yeah, a couple of issues I've had. I know people have had issues with the gauges. I've had a little bit of an issue with the gauge, that Adam Pro X gauge. The screen marred from cleaning it, and they came out the following day and just bought me a brand new one out and swapped it over, no problem. And then I had a little bit of an issue because I've got both gauges with the other gauge, just the Adam X. And it would just freeze on me, so I'd connect the air to it. It gives you a little flash of temperature first, and I'd connect the air to it. It would flash the temperature, and then it would just freeze on me. That only happened initially, and it didn't need anything doing to it. I don't know whether it just settled down or whatever, but I haven't had that issue since. Only in the first week it happened a handful of times. But yeah, I've had an issue with the pressure control, so the pressure adjustment on the bottom on the RP that I've got, 1.2i RP, just went really stiff on me and notchy, and was a struggle to do that. And Terry from Sata, fair play to me, came out and they've made some improvements, because I know there's been some issues with, there's some sort of ball bearing in the part where the gauges fit, something was sticking or a bearing was popping through. I don't know exactly what it was, because I haven't actually had the issue myself. So they've got like it's almost like an upgrade kit for them. So I think any new guns that are out now, there's been a bit of an upgrade to some of the internals, just some seals and stuff for the the dock where the both the Adam gauges dock to, that's been changed. What was the other thing? There was something on the where the needle goes through. They've changed the rubber in there because it was expanding or getting stuck or something. So he came out to sort out my pressure adjustment issue, and he just overhauled both guns and put all the new upgraded parts on them for me. Base coat application, 27 minutes nearly, not too bad. Just got to get it dry in a drop coat. So I left it all in, the whole thing, start to finish. Base coat, first coat, dry it, double coat, sort of 3/4 coat on top of each other, and now what I do is let that overspray clear, let it settle a little bit, give it 2 minutes, 2-3 minutes, stick it on a bake cycle at 45 degrees. And I do that because it's just more economical on the gas, especially in the winter months. If I'm dragging cold air in and trying to get that up to 40 degrees, I'm burning way more gas than what I would do just recycling it on a bake cycle. So that's what I do. Get the blower in there. Once the heat's in there, get the blower in there, probably about 10 minutes drying in there. It is hot stood in there, that is one downside to it, but it is what it is. I ain't hanging around waiting for that to dry naturally or drying from the heat. It needs dehydrating, it needs blowing out, and that Satajet Air Dry 2 is the best for that, for getting all the moisture out of it. And it doesn't use a lot of compressed air neither. It's gun pressure 2 bar. So get that on bake, 45 degrees, get in there, sweat me nuts out a little bit and get it dry. Drop coat and then we're on the clear. So 1 bar drop coat on this Mipa water base. What drop coat, effect coat, colour like this, you probably don't really need to do it because it's got a small amount of effect in this colour, but I just do it anyway. I even do it on solid colours most of the time. Just put a fine drop coat over it, and if I'm blending, just do it. I don't know why I do it on straight colours. Probably not necessary, but doesn't do any harm. So I'm not trying to get metallics to lay okay and in different angles on this, but yeah, I always give it a drop coat, 1 bar, let that dry naturally, and while that's drying I go and obviously mix the clear coat up. I always, whenever I'm painting a job, I'm constantly doing something from start to finish, and so the way I paint a job, the procedure, I do the same every time, with the drying and all that. It all needs working out, the drying, so I'm constantly on the go. I don't paint something and leave it and let them wait and all that. There's a stage to every part of the painting stage that I do. There's always something for me to do in between, because I'm not going out to the workshop next door and start doing some prepping and all that. When I'm in the booth to paint, I'm in there to paint, get it all done as efficiently as best I can and as quick as possible, because there's always something else for me to get on, or I need to go and check on Reese, see what he's doing, normally go and catch him on his phone or something like that. But yeah, just get in that booth, get it done, get the heat cycle sorted out, and it has to adapt a little bit to the climate, being here in the UK with our seasons. I'm either battling trying to get heat in, or I'm battling trying to get heat out, trying to always get it at that temperature that we need, around the low 20s for spraying, especially for metallic jobs. In the summer months is quite a challenge here, because my booth sort of exposed to, even though it's in the garage, it's exposed, the front doors are right to the outside, so I can get sun beating on the front of that spray booth and it can get hot in there. So yeah, I'm always having to adapt throughout the year, have to adapt like we all do with your warming of your paint products and stuff like that through the winter months, to try and get consistency with your jobs, with your base coat, laying down your base coat, drying, and your clear coat and all the rest of it, getting the consistent finishes. We have to make these adjustments and these micro adjustments to keep our you know, our standards and our finishes consistent. Okay. Swapped over, man. So I'll put you on the old respirator. Never can quite get the camera angle right on this. It's always a bit, I guess it, I ain't got time to mess about connecting it to my phone and having a look at it. Just got to freestyle it, man. So first coat, not too heavy, closed over coat. You know, want it closed over, you don't want them little micro holes. And obviously I know I'm flat and polished on this job. So you know, I want to make sure I've got a good, decent couple of coats on there. Like I say, this clear coat can run on you really easily. And especially, you know, like on bumpers and stuff, it's got a real tendency to flow out nice. And that can catch you out. So 2 bar on the first coat. I'm pretty much, I'm not really changing the settings on this X. So on 1.2 I set up with, it's an RP, and yeah, I've got the fluid, I have full trigger and I've got the fluid in about 1/4 turn and 2 bar. Sometimes on my second coat I might drop down to about 1.9 bar. And pretty much all the clear coats I use 5 different Mipa clear coats here, and yeah, I keep the settings pretty much the same. And yeah, I want to get that first coat on there, nice even closed over coat, not too wet. You know, when you know you're flat and polishing a job, ideally, you know, flow coating it would be great because it gives you a lot more scope for cutting that clear coat back and getting it as flat as possible. And this was really flat, the paint finish on this car, so it had a good flat and polish. It wasn't just like a scuff over, take a bit of texture out. It was pretty glassy. So like I say, flow coating would be nice to do. But there's a few ways you could set yourself up if you know you're going to be flat and polishing. If you're not going to flow coat, you know, high solid clear coats, you don't want to really be putting more than 2 coats on. There's a risk of film build being too thick and chunky. If you get your film build too thick and chunky, it's a harder battle to break through that clear and get it glassy looking with flat and polishing. But you know you're going to naturally think, I want to put more clear on this to give, because you're going to be taking clear off, so you're naturally going to be inclined to put it on heavy. So there is a couple of other ways. You could sort of do a 2.5 coat application. Like I say, high solid clears to medium solid clears, you can do 3, even maybe 4 coats of clear on that, because it hasn't got the depth and the build to it. You know, the whole reason why there's high solid and ultra high solid clears and all that, it's environmental, so you're getting more material on the job with less overspray, so it's better for the environment. And that's basically why we have high solid clears. But you know, you could set yourself up a bit better by maybe over thinning your clear a little bit, so it may even, like out the gun, not look as great gloss wise, because you may get a bit of like texture that shrivels back on itself where it's over thin, but that can flat a lot easier than a thick application of clear coat. So you could sort of maybe do over thin your clear a little bit, do like a you know, a half coat and go straight on with 2 wet coats, you know, obviously letting them dry in between, and give yourself a bit of a flatter gun finish. Maybe not the most desirable gun finish if you was going to leave it out the gun, but it would be better for flat and polishing because you've got less work of breaking down that thick texture, you know, that thick film build. But like I say, this clear coat, it does lay down really flat and it flows out really well. It's like I say, it's 0 to 5% thinners in it, and I done 4% on this, but I did bump, you know, kept the pressure bumped up on both coats just to you know, help it to lay down flat, and I wanted it to be done in 2 coats, you know. So like I say, that's other options for setting yourself up for flat and polishing, you know, not to get it on there too thick and orange peely, because it will make harder work of trying to get it down and looking flat like glass. So the setup on this gun, like I say, I can't put this gun down at the moment, both of them really. Just the whole overall, I know there's issues and people got issues with them and all the rest of it, and I've had some issues. It's a new product at the end of the day. Until it goes into the real world, it's completely different to other Satas. Just the way it sprays and the balance of it, I love it. I know I'm biased because all I use is Satas, and I've got nothing against any other guns and all that, but I honestly can say that the way it sprays and the balance of it, the balance of it in your hand, it's not you know, like the lightest of guns, but it's just so well balanced that it just feels great in the hand, and it just sprays really nicely. And with the eye setup, I'm you know, where I've always used Satas, I'm a bit inclined to always go for O setups because I'm a bit of a heavy painter, and I like the way the O setups, you know, pump a bit more product out there and they're a bit faster. But this is a good balance in between. I was really in 2 minds about getting the eye setup, and it was probably because the only eye setup I've had really, which isn't a true eye setup, was I bought a CC gun and I don't really get on with it. It's too slow for me, so I was a bit, I'm not going to go for the eye on this one. But I'm so glad I did, because it is in between and it's really suiting my, you know, my spraying style and technique. Everyone's got their own spraying styles and their own techniques, and it's whatever works for you, you know, whatever feels good in the hand, and what, you know, and it's about the results you get with it at the end of the day. And I know there's guns out there that will achieve, you know, just as good results with this, or even better in the right hands. It's not about that, it's about what feels right with you and what works with you. And yeah, this eye setup is new to me, so it's given me a real sort of enthusiasm again for spraying, you know, really enjoying it. I look forward to using them again, and to put all my other guns redundant at the moment, but I might get bored with it and start, you know, I'm gonna use my other guns. But quite often, that, you know, the Satas, they develop and they move on a little bit, but they are all pretty similar from maybe 3,000-4,000 upwards. You know, the 5500, even though it looks the same and it's the same sort of body as a 5000, that sprays quite a bit different of 5500, because they did work on all the internals and the setups for them. And this is, yeah, it is a new way of paint application for Sata. It's definitely a big improvement, even though it has got some faults with it, you know. So yeah, it's my go-to, and at the moment, and I'm absolutely loving it. See how long it lasts, see whatever issues I have, but like I say, the service with Sata, for them to, you know, any issues I have had, the rep's straight down here with his van full of setups and repair spare parts and all the rest of it. So he'd come out, and whatever issues you have with it, the service is impeccable. They just come out, replace anything that needs replacing, and make sure you're happy with it, and make sure that, you know, that gun's performing exactly how it should do, which, you know, that's, you know, paying that sort of money for a spray gun. You wouldn't want it any other way. So I don't worry about if, you know, there are teething problems and there are issues. You're not going to be you know, your gun's not going to be out of action for very long. You haven't got to mess about posting it or sending it back to anyone. They come out with a van with all the bits and bobs, and it's, you know, to me it's a bit like a sweet truck for a kid that you can have a look at all other bits and bobs. And yeah, I just like them, and I'll shut up about them now. But anyway, gonna get a nice wet finish on this bonnet, get it on there as wet as I can. And I didn't really flat and polish the bonnet apart from a little bit of denibbing, to save myself a little bit of work, get that nice and flat, the bonnet. And yeah, the flat and polishing stage was really just on the wings. Quite a big front end on this car, and I am vertically challenged a little bit, so I do struggle to keep that gun tipped up and reach the middle of the bonnet, especially, you know, when I've got painted wings in front of me. So I do have to sort of adapt, and like the middle sections of bonnets, when I'm doing front end, especially on quite a big front end like this, I have to sort of try and marry in a couple of bits, go at a little bit of a different angle, sort of fill in a couple of sections in the middle, and then I can do full passes across the rest of it as I come back across the other side. I always try to keep my fan up even, but when I'm really, you know, struggling to meet, you end up, you know, you're going to be bottom heavy a little bit, which is going to sort of influence your finish a little bit. It's not too bad on a bonnet because you do sort of flood it out a little bit on a bonnet. So if you're not, you know, you haven't got your angles perfect, it's not so critical really. So we're coming to the end of the clear coat application on this. There's still a fair bit of this video to go, so fair play to you if you've got this far with it. So obviously the second part of this video is going to be the flat and polishing, to show you how I tie in this gun finish into a show car glassy looking finish. So if you fancy it, stick around and I'll show you how to achieve that glass looking finish that they all bang on about. Right then, YouTubes, the Audi S6 is all fitted up. So we're going to do the polishing stage now. I'll give you a quick look at it. So I've already done one wing. This vehicle's all been flat and polished like glass. We've got to polish the whole car as well. So Reese is getting on with that. The bonnet is nice and flat, so we can get the bonnet flat without having to take, you know, loads of texture out of it. It's not an issue. But obviously on the side panels, it's not factory orange peel on there. So we've got to flat the texture out of it. So I've already done this wing, and the process I went through is I blocked it with 1200, and I used, it's like a little squidgy block. It's spongy on one side and a bit of a rubber side on the other side. So use that rubber side. Blocked it by hand, 1200, wet and dry, old traditional way of flattening down orange peel, and then went over with 1500 on a dual action sander, a 3-orbit sander specifically for polishing. I used the foam backed, where is it? These 3M foam back pads, really good, 1500, and then refine that with 3000 Trizac on that sander as well. And that's just heavy cut machine polish 3M, and yeah, it's come out really nice and flat, really glassy looking, pretty much like the rest of the vehicle. So it all ties in with the rest of the vehicle. Obviously we're matching this because the rest of the vehicle's like it, otherwise we would be matching it as factory orange peel. So I'm just going to record me doing the wing on this side, so I'll give you a quick look. The bonnet, I haven't done any polishing on it yet. That's out the gun, so that's going to be pretty much denibbing and running the machine polisher over it. And then this wing, that CC12 clear coat, you can get it really nice and flat. This is a few days old now, so it's gone nice and hard. I'd rather do it when it's nice and hard to minimise any flatting marks come back. But it lays down really flat. It's got real good afterflow. But there's some texture in there, some orange peel like normal. Probably a little bit flatter than what it would be from factory, but getting it nice and flat on your final coat makes it a lot easier for you to flatten polish, getting texture out. If you've got if you're quite inclined sometimes, if you know you're going to be cutting it back and polishing it, to get more product on there, which is good. But if you make it like a bit too thick and orange peel, then you've got a battle of getting through that, and that can create ripples. So ideally you want a flow coat for flat and polishing, then you're really going to minimise any flatting through. Got to be careful on the edges. I filmed some of the processes of going through the grades of getting this to look like glass, and then the polishing up of it. So initially for the cutting back, I use a block and just try and block it as even as possible, but you can find that you will leave a little bit of scoring and stuff like that. So then I go over by hand in circles, like you would when we used to. I don't know whether any of you painters that are watching maybe still wet flat, but you know, when you're flatting primer, you'd block through it all first, try and block it out as flat and straight as possible, and then you just use your hand, and you know, it's not a flat panel, all shapes and contours to it. So then just do it all by hand then to sort of take out any like scoring that you may have put in it from blocking it straight and blocking it through. And now onto the 1500. There's so many ways you can do this, and so many ways you can do the grades. Like I say, you could go flatter than this, 1000 grit. Anything more than 1000 grit, I'd want to be flow coating it. I think I've already said that in the video, or I might even say it again later, so apologies if I keep repeating myself. It's a long video, I made it quite a while ago, and I'm quite tired, so yeah, there's a few options. This was quite a quick way, really. I know it doesn't seem that quick, but to do 1200 and then do 1500, I know that I'm getting them. Doing it by hand 1200 grit, I know with the 1500 that's going to take them 1200 grit scratches right out. Sometimes I would maybe do 2000 and then 3000, but I went straight to 3000. As long as you spend enough time with those Trizacs on the 3000, and it's all about getting those previous scratches out, up through the grades. As long as you know you've got them scratches out, it's going to polish up lovely. It's sometimes the Trizacs can trick you a little bit, or they can wear. It's quite hard to tell when they're worn sometimes, the 3000 grit, that it hasn't removed the previous scratches, so you'll find there's patches that still look like flatted and other patches that haven't. And it's about being patient with those Trizacs really, and making sure that they're cutting. And I find sometimes too much water with them they will skip over a little bit. You can feel them sort of dig in and bog down a little bit, and then you can sort of feel them cutting then. And then again with the polishing, I'm on the 3M stuff at the moment. I find it the best for the painted stuff, probably not the best for paint correction over, you know, if we're just doing a polish on a car, but for the painted stuff, I find the 3M at the moment, it's been working really well for us, and not really getting any issues with any flatting marks coming back. And again, sometimes over compounding your pads, you've got to use your pads doing the cutting and your compound. So if your pad's saturated in compound, you're not getting any benefit from the coarse pad, you know, the pad cutting. I use the Roops pads because most of my machines are Roops. That's a flex I'm using there because Reese has got the Roops rotary on the go. So I find, yeah, sometimes oversaturating with compound, the compound is it's just gliding over your surface, and you're not getting a good cut. So a good balance of getting that pad nice and primed with compound, but not overly saturated with compound. And you know, as I go through polishing stages, especially on jobs like this, if I was, you know, doing a fair amount of compounding, as I go through, you can sort of tell that when the pad's overloaded with compound, it will start flicking bits out with the heat of it all and all the rest of it. I spin it and blow it out with the airline, and start again, and like I said, get that pad primed with compound, and then just using a little air one with the same type of head, but a little 75mm version of it, just getting them little small areas. I wanted to get as much texture out as possible, you know, as close to the lines as possible. Some areas it's going to be difficult to get it completely flat. So this is just the compounding stage, so the heavy cut stage of it, to get all the flatting marks out, and then I go over it all again, refine it, with a medium cut on the dual action, and then the 3M ultra fine cut, and that's it, finished.
Let's double check it in the morning. Oh, I'm just going to try and get in early, just get it cracked on with.
I mean, the bonnet won't take long, will it?
No, I've got about 3 or 4 nibs. I'm just going to run it over it and then do the final stage over it all.
Yeah, wow, yeah.
Right, nice.
God, you look shorter.
What am I doing? Outro for what?
This.
Oh, I can do that, can't I?
I was going to say you look shorter when I do that. Better off like that, you look bigger, yeah.
Yeah, that's it then. See ya. Oi. Where you going? Oh. Oh, right then. You can walk around in the background.
Yeah.
Fucking hell, mate. Nelson Mandela's. Ta-da. Right then, YouTubes. That's an Audi S6 all finished, all polished. Polished the whole car. So I'll give you a quick look. Really pleased with how it's come out. So I'll give you a look at the flat polishing on the wing. Like I showed you at the beginning of this video, the car's all been flat and polished. Well, it's virtually had a respray apart from a couple of panels. All the texture taken out everywhere. And it's polished up nice. Always does when it's flat and polished. And then I'll give you a look at the wings that I flat and polished. And that pretty much ties in with the rest of it. Lovely. I love a flat and polished look, I really do, but I just don't think it's practical. And obviously you're not going to be doing this on production cars that have got production finish, you know. If they got a factory orange peel, you're not going to be doing this. So like you see earlier in the video, that's the steps that I went through to get it to this finish. You could go flatter, you could do more. There is more scope on this side of this trade for finish wise, for glass, you know, restoration and custom work. This is the sort of finish, you know, that you would be going for restoration and custom work. And the bonnet is out the gun pretty much. Couple of nibs here and there, nothing major. But you can obviously get a good flow. You can get a good flow on a flat bonnet, on a flat panel, because there's no real risk of it running. And here's the other wing. Flat and polish is lovely, this CC12, really nice. That's why they call it their show killer, because it is geared up for restoration and custom type work. It's more geared up for that than it is your production stuff. So the CC9 that I use, Mipa CC9 is more for that. This has got a bit more gloss, and the flat and polishing side of it is fantastic. It's really satisfying doing flat and polishing. I do love doing it, but there are some negatives to having it done. And you're not going to be doing this on a couple of panels that you paint when the rest of the car isn't like it. But the rest of the car is like it. So I'll give you a quick look around the rest of the car. Real nice, clean example. And they've done a good job on this. They have done a nice job on this respray. And obviously whoever had this work done, this is probably what they wanted. They didn't want to, if you have your car resprayed, they didn't want that factory looking orange peel. They wanted a glass type finish. All front bumper, all nice and clean. So a little bit different. Instead of trying to match factory orange peel, we're trying to match someone's glass respray instead. So we're going the opposite way with this. One production car with a glass finish, 0 orange peel. So if you want to spray glass and you want to get that glass finish that everyone bangs on about, getting glass, no orange peel, that's the way you do it. No bullshit. There's no bullshit on this channel. There may be people that can show me how to get glass out the gun, but how I've been taught and how I've ever done it, if you want glass finish, that's how you do it. You're gonna have to flat and polish it by hand. So that's it for this one. Hope you enjoyed it. It's a little bit different. Added a little bit of a different type of work to what we would normally do on just your average day-to-day production type paint work. This was a little bit different with a few little tweaks. Breaks it up a little bit. breaks it up for me. Bit more work involved, but real satisfying results. I'm really pleased with how it come out. So hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you got some good information out of it. Help my channel to grow with you. If you like this video, please like, share and subscribe. Really trying to get to 10,000 now. So yeah, if you can, even if you didn't like it, just subscribe and help me get my numbers up. That'd be great. Thanks for watching, really appreciate it. And we'll see you again soon. Look after yourselves, everyone.